The whole world believes it to be nothing more than just an odd toy or a hobby of megaminders. But contrary to popular beliefs, it was never meant to be a toy. It's time to know the real story behind everyone's favorite puzzle box. The Rubik's Cube was first invented in 1974, not by a toy designer, rather by an architect to teach his students about 3D geometry, as it was supposed to serve its purpose in the class and to be forgotten. But things took an interesting turn when Erno Rubik, the creator of Rubik's Cube, had scrambled it and was unable to return it to its original state. As he found it to be so difficult, he began to think that what he had made was unsolvable. Now, we all felt a little frustrated at Rubik's Cube at some point in our life, but Erno Rubik was so frustrated and annoyed that all he did was eat, sleep, and Rubiks for a whole month. Our guy was one day away from going crazy. After solving the cube to its original form, he got the idea to share the world his cube. But things were not as smooth as it seems for Erno Rubik. As it was 1974, Hungary was covered by barbed wire and mines, which people called the Iron Curtain. The goal was simple: seal the country from Western influences so they could not escape from the Soviet Eastern Bloc. As at that time, state-monopolized companies mocked the invention of Erno Rubik, saying, "A useless piece of junk." Other toy manufacturers would also reject the Rubik's Cube, saying it was way too difficult and complex, as it seems that the Rubik's Cube was not getting the love Erno Rubik expected. And as time has a tendency to bury the past, the Rubik's Cube should have been erased from history. But Erno Rubik never lost hope. He pushed on his invention, and after long 6 years of its creation, he was finally able to present it globally in 1980.
It became an instant hit, becoming a global sensation. Estimates were it sold more than 100 million copies in just under 3 years. It didn't take much time for Rubik's Cube to be a pop cultural phenomenon. Everybody's center of attention was the Rubik's Cube, as from being a must-have Christmas gift to becoming a status of intelligence, it was everywhere. People began to praise it for its uniqueness and design.
The newspaper and TV would advertise to have combinations of 3 billion and just one solution, which sparks the race to solving Rubik's Cube, and hereby begins the era of Rubik's Mania. Countless how-to-solve books and sticker sheets became high in demand at the time, as solving the Rubik's Cube was the biggest flex imaginable in the 80s.
On the other side, people's passion for the cube created a global community, which for the first time in history led to the championship of the Rubik's Cube at Budapest in 1982.
For a time, Rubik's Cube was living the greatest moments of its life. But as life always likes to remind us that every good thing must come to an end, the eternal craze, which seemed forever, was dying down as people had enough of 3 billion to one solution. Well, we all accept that life has ups and downs, but for the Rubik's Cube, what looks to be just a turmoil in its journey had proven a little bit more than it could chew. Not long after, there had been news began to circulate of the fringe conspiracy of Rubik's Cube connected with the ancient Saturnian worship, the Black Cube of Saturn, together with reports revealing that the Rubik's Cube become a major reason for divorces, as spouses were spending too much on the cube. Surely a multi-million-dollar business cannot be affected by a mere fiction or some divorce cases. As saying goes, what goes up will come down. But a brand that was built on a gimmick, a hype, without its lifelines, it was struggling to survive in the grueling world of business. From being a must-have product to an old garage leftover for sale, this was the final faith of the Rubik's Cube. Or was it? In the early 2000s, a little thing called internet began to very popular among public. It was at time the Rubiks had a rebirth of life, as Jessica Friedrich and Lars Petrus had posted their techniques for the first time online on solving the Rubik's Cube faster and easier without going too mathematical. This became first step in repopularizing the cube. While movies like Pursuit of Happiness gave the Rubik's Cube limelight as the main character shows its intelligence by solving a Rubik's Cube. And with videos like Justin Bieber solving the cube went viral and kept the flame going. After a couple of years, a documentary of Max Park and Felix Zemdeg came out. Max, a person who was in the autism spectrum, began to develop social skills and found a global community with help of Rubik's Cube. What just seemed a mere toy gave people purpose, life, and passion. And sure, everything has its golden time in an era, but it seems like sometimes some things just refuses to be forgotten in time. And with an object like the Rubik's Cube, which is so unique and fascinating, it would have been a waste staying in just memories. As of now, in 2026, the Rubik's Cube have sold more than 500 million units, with championship titles held every 2 years, which is supported by a thriving global community of cubers, speed cubers around the world. This invention is truly something different and innovative, as were its people, whose undying dedication and love for cube never extinguished. And that truly makes this colorful cube very, very special.